Yeah, hi peeps, it's Terse back in the old squat box once again, and taking another tack, tacking off to another subject. It's not politics, it's not religion, although some people might say, well, it's spiritual. Well, actually it's not spiritual. I don't believe in spiritualisation, don't believe in ghost spirits, don't believe in souls. Don't believe in any of that shit. But the reason I'm making this video is I just for the first time seen the interview of Russell Brand on Morning Joe, and I found it funny but not enlightening. I mean, I've always known that when you watch TV news, supposed news and chat programmes, it's all bullshit, it's all controlled, they've got to stop every fucking 10-15 minutes for a fucking advert series, you know. So, you know, and they never want to like upset the viewers or upset the sponsors who actually pay for the show by putting their adverts in between the breaks, you know. So always knew that, and Russell Brand maybe, you know, conned on that, and he even in his little act, his little Russell Brand act, and you know, it was funny, but you know, it wasn't enlightening. A lot of people, I watched it, looked at some of the chat under the video of it, and I thought, yeah, oh yeah, yous are Americans. Yous think it was amazing that he came on there and totally blew people away and didn't react like normal hosts, sitting there not turning around and saying what all they people doing over there and making comments. But that's Russell Brand doing his act, you know what I mean? And then he was the only person, as a lot of people said, who brought up what was going on with, you know, Bradley Manning and people like that, you know, the big sort of spy exposer who's living in Russia now. You know, but just Russell Brand doing his act. He knew he can get away with that. He knew he could do that because he's a smart man, and he knows that these people are constrained and were going to act awkward when he started to get away from any sense of control that these people had over the show. I mean, you know, they probably had people shouting in their ear, what the fuck's going on, try and control him, and they didn't even know how to start controlling this guy, you know what I mean? Because he's a Brit, he comes on there and he says what he thinks, you know what I mean? It's a very hard thing to control. British people are more aware of not just what happens in our own country, but what's going on around the world, because we read newspapers, we get several different forms of media, you know. It's not all controlled by 3 or 4 or 5 large conglomerates who control everything you see, hear or read, you know what I mean. There's still lots of little individual and independent media sources in Britain, you know, and in Europe. So we don't seem so robotic, and we seem smarter and more intelligent, but we're not smarter and more intelligent, we're just more aware. And this is why I was a bit pissed off when I started watching that David Lynch video with what do you call it, the Jennies and you know, Russell Brand on it talking about transcendental meditation. And I was thinking, oh my god, he's not into that. I mean, the fact that he's a recovering, he calls himself a recovering drug addict. I recovered from drugs. Back in 1988, the last time I used drugs as like an addict. I still occasionally dip my toe in the water. I still occasionally get stoned and fucked up. I still drink, you know, I still smoke, I still, if I can get it, take some LSD and stuff like that, and MDMA if I can get it, you know, I still get fucked up. Doesn't mean I'm an addict. It means I'm dipping into the waters. It's like, you know, even a Buddhist monk, if you see these movies with the Kung Fu, Shaolin, and, you know, they occasionally stop and drink some wine and get fucked up, you know? And that's how they develop to the drunken man stance, you know what I mean? That's apparently, you know, acting drunk but beating people up, you know, all that bullshit, yeah. So, you know, getting out your head, if you look at the history of mankind, we're eating mushrooms, or probably ate fucking, you know, deer shit, you know, or smoked it or something, you know what I mean? Like, no, if you look back in the history of mankind, we've done all kinds of stuff to get fucked up, you know? That's part of being human, you know? But also a part of being human isn't saying I've got to meditate every day. That's like saying I've got to pray every day. That's like saying I've got to pray 5 times a day at certain times of the day. That's like saying I've got to get the evil organisms out of my body and become a Scientologist. That's like saying, I believe I'm going to die and take over a planet. You know what I mean? No, like the Mormons, I mean, TM is just another religion when you come down to there's forms and stuff you've got to do. That's just another religion. You're orthodox in it, just turn it into a thing that you've got to do. I remember when I was a kid, I used to daydream, I used to drift off in class when teachers were talking. I would stop listening to them, but my mind was also in another place, thinking about what I was being told and how it relates to things that I imagined might be possible, My brain was in 2 different places at once, and I had what I would call an overview of the reality of the world. A lot of things that people who do TM say, you have a more real sense of the world. But it is only a sense. It's a sense. It's not real. It's just a feeling you have because you're having an experience. That's what daydreaming is. That's what TM is. That's what prayer is. That's what getting fucked out your head is. It's an experience, and you need to actually try and use them in some sense to make your awareness of yourself and the world and the people you love and the people you don't love and the people you hate. You've got to have a sense of all of that and how it actually affects your life and how your actions affect theirs, That's a huge, gigantic amount of information you've got to deal with every day. And by the way, we're all dealing with it every single day. We all deal with that shit every day, whether you think you're dealing with it or not, you're dealing with it. I don't believe that transcendental meditation is any better than daydreaming. I do believe that finding some alone time and just thinking about your life, thinking about your relationships, thinking about what's going on locally and globally is an interesting way to free your mind from the cacophony of noise and disruptive information, disinformation, which Russell Brand talks about a lot as well. How do you escape disinformation? How do you recognise it? How do you escape being changed or operated or manipulated by it? Daydreaming for me is the crux of the matter. I daydream a lot. I find alone time quite a lot nowadays. I didn't find it when I was massively involved in making videos and working as a sound engineer. I was concentrating on what I was doing. You're out of the world and doing a single thing to the best of your ability. You're not you. You become the thing you're doing. I am more me now than I've ever been. Russell Brand seems to think he's more himself now than he's ever been, but he's actually only himself when he's meditating. When he's not meditating, when he's having an interview on TV, he's not meditating, he's acting the part he feels he needs to act at that time in that space. And so he's not even himself at that time. You watch Russell Brand, you watch him on stage, you watch him in movies, you watch him on interviews, you watch him when he actually busts out and becomes free. Like in that Morning Joe interview, busted out, but he was still acting, he was still being controlled because he knew he was on TV and there were certain things that just wouldn't be accepted, But he knew the boundary, he knew the line, and just crossing that line a bit was just enough to make it a spectacular appearance. And that's what he was doing. He was an appearance on TV, that's what it was. And when he goes on stage, he's acting the part of the transcendentalist, and even there he has to talk a bunch of rubbish before he actually goes on to the transcendental meditation, spiel that he's given. And that's why a lot of religious people, they can't always be the bespoke religious ideal that people expect them to be. They have to come on there and they're told there's certain things that they're expected to give to the audience. Different audiences in different places in America, there's different speeches that even the Republicans representatives, senators, people running for president. They'll say some things in the south of America different from what they say in the east of America, different from what they say in the west of America. You know, it's they try to read their audience, they try to moderate what they're saying depending where they are, they change what it is that they're going to emphasise in the speeches. You know, Russell Brand's doing that same thing, but all doing exactly that same thing. And you're talking with mates at work, you know, or you might not say mates at work, but if you're talking to your boss, if you're talking to somebody you work with, if you're talking to the guy that's just above you at work, you know, if you're talking to your family, if you're talking to neighbours, if you're talking to a guy in the shop, all that information is there in your mind. You know, and you're reading, how can I present myself here, you know, what is it I've got to... We're not all the same person all the time. We change depending on the place we are, the people we're surrounded with, and the expectations that we read from those people. That's what we're doing as human beings all the time. What is the expectation from this person I'm speaking from? How do I present myself to them? What part of my personality can I actually let them see? All through life, we live in like a sort of lifetime of our own veils. And for some people, we put a veil up to the side and let them see a part of us, and for other people, we're pulling veils in front of us to disguise ourselves and fuzzy, make it a fuzzy image so they can't see the true us. We're doing that all the time, you know. I wrote a song in my 20s called Veils of the Mind, and that is one of the things that we do in our life. We're consistently, it's like the dance of veils and that movie, the dance of the seven veils, you know. We're stripping ourselves bare for some people, and we are disguising ourselves with veils so they can still see us, but they can't see the whole of us. They can't see into our soul, you know. Some people you like to see into your soul, some people you don't. Some people you like to see part way, some people you don't. It's an everlasting dance of you know, form. You know, it's psychological form, you know. We present ourselves in certain ways to one person and in a different way to another person. And sometimes it gets a bit awkward when two people that you present yourself differently to meet you in the same time and space, and then you've got a problem of, well, how do I present myself to this person and that person at the same time without actually, you know, letting this person see how I'm presented to them and this person see how I presented them to them. It's different, you know. Like, for instance, you ever had a girlfriend and been caught with a girl that she knows you're cheating on her with, you know, and nobody wants to sort of fuck everything up, so there's that tension and there's that, what kind of conversation we're going to go through, you know. Yeah, well, for men, that's probably a thing most of us have been through, and for women, that might be a thing you've been through as well. Or have you ever had, you know, an invitation to go someplace with someone you know very well is invited, and they're with you when it's time to go, and you've got to make an excuse of, well, I can't stay, we can't hang out, I've got to go and do this other thing, but you can't tell them what the other thing is, and then you've got to lie to them, and that's bad because you know that if they're a real true friend, they know you and they know when you're, you know, obfuscating and making stuff up, you know. But these are the things we do, and we do them because we are people. Not because we're nasty people, not because we're bad. We do it because we are a convoluted, multi-level, you know what I mean, you know, consciousness. We're not just one thing. Transcendental meditation doesn't mean any more an individual single, you know, entity. We are multiple entities. We are a very convoluted and complex set of decision-making tools and, you know, multi-level minds. You know what I mean? We don't have one mind. We have multiple levels of mind.